Imagine waking up to find your country on edge, with streets filling up, political leaders speaking out, and videos of confrontations spreading across social media faster than the authorities can respond. Now imagine one senior government official publicly calling for decisive action as pressure mounts over the unrest expected on June 30th. Is this the moment South Africa restores order? Or is the country heading into an even deeper crisis? The videos you're about to watch have sparked fierce debate across the nation, with supporters demanding accountability and critics warning about rising tensions. Watch every moment carefully, because some of these clips reveal statements and reactions that could shape what happens next. Before we continue, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss important developments as this story continues to unfold.
June the 30th will be a normal day. The people who want to open their businesses must be able to businesses. People who want to go to work must be able to go to work unhindered. People who are here illegally in the country must know that they will not be bullied and intimidated in our country. Genuine grievance does not make a violent remedy justified. If you take a matter up which is costly for the country, are you acting in the interest of the people of this country? If you take the matter up in such a way that you damage the reputation of our country in our region, are you helping the country? Or you're harming the country?
Enforcement of the law is the responsibility of the state and no one else. Thus, we are ready as a state to protect every person, citizen and foreign nationals against any form of abuse and intimidation. We therefore indicate as government that the 30th of June is a normal day. It's not a shutdown, it's not a stay away. Employees are expected to be in work, attending. Those who are transporting are expected to continue with their businesses, and everybody who is running business is expected to do so. And this day is their legal right, is their constitutional right, and no one has a right to actually infringe upon that right. So we do not recognize the 30th as a shutdown day or an off day. So those who are working, if you are not going to work, you are not going to get paid. So it will be no pay. You would have absconded from work. We further reiterate that no unauthorized person is permitted to demand documentation or proof of nationality from anyone. Blocking access for anyone to go to clinic, hospitals, schools, or other public services is prohibited and is against the law. Violence and intimidation against foreign nationals and citizens of this country is against the law and will be prosecuted in accordance with relevant legal prescripts. Advocates and perpetrators of racism, sexism, tribalism, hate speech, Afrophobia, xenophobia, and any form of intolerance have no place in our country that is founded on the ideals of Ubuntu and our founding document for our constitutional democracy, our constitution.
Ladies and gentlemen, it will be business as usual on the 30th. No shop must be broken in. No shop must be looted. I hope you hear me very well on that. Lawlessness will be met with lawful, firm, and professional policing. And these, I'm not compromising on it. And we must deal with it, and we must make sure that it's not happening. I don't want to hear anything that people there were burning tires. I don't want to hear that. We need to make...
Hi everyone. So today we've signed a peace pact because our organizations believe in peace. We want to get our country back in order to lawfulness, and we want to do it within the confines of the law. And we're asking all citizens to respect the laws of the country and We know they've let us down as a government, but this time the pressure we're going to put on them is going to make sure that they do the work they're supposed to do. On the 30th of June, come out in numbers, protest peacefully, make your voice heard, get out all that frustration that you have, but do it in a good manner. Because at the end of the day, we're going to make our government take accountability, because they're the ones that got us in this mess in the first place. So anything that happens on the 30th, we as a movement are going to make sure that we conduct ourselves in a peaceful and respectful manner, but we're also calling on the government to do their job and make sure that they enforce the laws in every and any way, not just to South Africans, but to everyone that's within the confines of the Republic, to make sure that not only South Africans are held accountable and responsible for upholding the law, but foreign nationals themselves must also be responsible in the country, and if they're not in the country legally, they must go.
In the past weeks, we have seen messages circulating on social media, in WhatsApp groups, and on street corners, demanding that foreign nationals who are in the country illegally must leave by the end of this month. While publicly, the organizers of this misguided campaign state that they are only arranging peaceful protests. In practice, a number of these protests have been associated with murder, violence, looting, and destruction of property. This is likely to do with the misinformation that has been disseminated by these groups to try and blame legitimate community grievances on foreign nationals. These organizers are therefore very well aware that their actions are likely to contribute to violence being directed against people from other countries. They also know that the criminal elements are likely to make use of their protests to loot, steal, and destroy. Part of their misinformation is that the government is not doing anything about illegal immigration, which is patently untrue. Tens of thousands of undocumented foreign nationals are deported every year, and there are clear efforts to tighten the border control, improve immigration management, and reduce the number of people who are in the country unlawfully. Let us be absolutely clear from the start. This small minority of misguided people who think that our deep-rooted social and economic problems can simply be solved by targeting foreign nationals are themselves part of the problem. This is not who we are as South Africans, and it is not what our Constitution allows, as read by Deputy Minister Mmamoloko.
In South Africa is ugly, but it is also populist and it is reactionary. And I've maintained throughout that the March and March movement, and I refer to it as a movement because it's got a number of various other organizations now, including also the MK Party, that is part of this whole populist, vulgar hate movement. And this movement is directly funded by Western imperialists and also by Zionist business people. Again, I'm doing my investigations and research. There's one particular Zionist businessman in South Africa who's gone out of his way to say that he wants to see South Africa's coherency, the unity of South Africa, to collapse. He wants to see inside South Africa ethnic division and the various ethnic groups in South Africa to turn on each other, and he wants to destroy South Africa's image within the African continent. Now, I've got my crosshairs on him, and in due course I will reveal who he is together with the rest of the cohorts who are supporting him. So March and March is also not simply a natural organic process and movement. It is also in a very deliberate way stoked on, manipulated, managed like marionettes, puppets on a string, and funded. And Israeli Zionist money is directly involved in stoking on the actions of March and March. Now, It is a totally disgusting, unacceptable situation that any South African can turn on a fellow brother and sister from the rest of Africa. And I'm not saying that I don't understand the challenges that my fellow South Africans are faced with. Many of those challenges are much worse than I have, because in the past I was privileged by apartheid, I continue to be privileged. So I must always put that as a footnote when I speak about these issues. But fellow black African South Africans cannot claim that they are in the first instance losing their jobs, and that the financial disaster that they are faced with in the most unequal society in the world is because fellow brothers and sisters from the rest of the African continent come to South Africa. Yes, I know that at the coalface they may sometimes feel like that and it may appear like that. But the essence of what we are faced with is the capitalist economic system. And that system is deliberately dividing and ruling. And it is pitting people against each other. And it suits the primarily white capitalists, white monopoly capitalists in South Africa, to have a large group of black Africans who've entered South Africa in the search for a better life, who in many instances are undocumented, which is wrong. They should be documented. That is a failure of the government, and the government needs to take responsibility for that failure. They cannot escape it. The Department of Home Affairs is corrupt to the core, and it allows many of the black African brothers and sisters who come into South Africa to enter without proper registration and documentation. But there's no ways that black South Africans are living in the poverty, the deprivation, the squalor, and the unemployment because fellow Africans from the rest of the continent are also coming to South Africa. That is a fallacy. But it is a fallacy that suits the white monopoly capitalists very well. Because today they can employ an unregistered, undocumented black worker from the rest of the African continent at cutthroat wages, way under the minimum wage line, and therefore also undermine and cut the salaries of South African citizens. And they enjoy doing it. They also love the kind of divisions that's happening now, because it takes a whole lot of the pressure off them where the real issue should have been. What is happening with the restitution of land, the return of land without compensation? What is happening with the restructuring of the South African economy? Why are big white monopoly capitalist companies closing factories and industries here in South Africa? Why are many of the mining companies in South Africa still dominated by international shareholding, which is predominantly white monopoly capitalist shareholders? And why are we not making sure that we enrich the minerals that we mine in this country, and that process of enrichment of the minerals also help to create a whole new wave of jobs in South Africa? So none of these questions, these are the critical questions. Now you have certain people like Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma and some of those who run with her going around saying to black South Africans, it's because of the black foreigner. But interestingly enough, they do not raise the question about the German foreigner, the British, the Spanish, or even foreigners from the rest of Asia.
Buying billions of dollars worth of property.
Well, I'm often in Cape Town, and I can see what is happening with the gentrification of places like Greenpoint and Sea Point, which is now totally in the hands of white European foreigners and Zionists.
March and March is a vigilante group.
I take serious exception to this, honestly. To call them a vigilante group, honestly, it's an insult.
They are asking